The crimson dust of Proxima IV swirled around the twisted remains of Elias Vega's transport shuttle. 3 days stranded on this desolate wasteland had depleted his oxygen reserves to critical levels. The shuttle's emergency beacon pulsed weakly into the void, a desperate cry for help that would likely go unanswered in this lawless corner of the galaxy. Elias winced as he tightened the makeshift bandage around his forearm. The crash had shattered his navigation console, sending shards of polymer crystal deep into his flesh. Blood seeped through the fabric, a dangerous lure on a planet known to harbor predatory life forms that could detect the scent from kilometers away. 96 hours of oxygen remaining, announced the shuttle's failing AI. Recommend conservation protocols. Noted, Elias muttered, scanning the horizon through the cracked viewport. The War of Dissolution had left human colonies scattered and vulnerable. Earth's protective fleets were gone, and rumors spoke of human males being hunted to near extinction, prized for their rarity since the genetic plague had devastated male populations across former Earth territories. A shadow passed overhead, momentarily blocking the harsh light of Proxima's binary stars. Elias froze, reaching for his pulse pistol. The vessel descending toward his position bore markings he recognized with a chill of apprehension, the obsidian and silver insignia of the Valkari Protectorate. The Valkari were legendary, a matriarchal race of warriors whose physical prowess and technological superiority had allowed them to remain neutral during the war. Stories told of their fascination with human males, whom they collected and protected across the galaxy, for a price. The alien vessel landed with precision 50 meters from his wreckage. Its hull shimmered with energy shields calibrated to repel Proxima's caustic atmosphere. The boarding ramp extended with a hiss of hydraulics, revealing a tall, imposing figure silhouetted against interior lights. Elias steadied his weapon despite knowing resistance would be futile. The Valkari who emerged moved with fluid, predatory grace despite standing nearly 7 feet tall. Her skin gleamed like burnished copper, etched with luminescent markings that pulsed in rhythm with her movements. The battle armor she wore accentuated powerful musculature, while her face remained partially obscured by a tactical visor. Human male confirmed, she spoke, her voice rich and resonant. Life signs deteriorating, extraction authorized. Stay back, Elias warned, raising his weapon. I'm not interested in becoming anyone's trophy. The Valkari tilted her head, then removed her visor to reveal striking amber eyes with vertical pupils that contracted in the planet's harsh light. Her features were angular yet undeniably feminine, framed by a crest of ruby-red filaments that resembled hair but moved independently, sensing the environment. I am Commander Tessara Vector of the 7th Valkari Fleet, she announced, approaching despite his warning. You will die within days without intervention. The predators of this world have already detected your blood scent. As if summoned by her words, a distant howl echoed across the plains, followed by answering calls. I prefer my chances with the local wildlife to becoming someone's pet, Elias replied, though his voice betrayed his weakening condition. Tessara's expression remained impassive. You misunderstand Valkari tradition. We do not take pets, we claim those worthy of protection and devotion. She extended a hand adorned with intricate metallic bracers. Your species faces extinction. Every male preserved ensures human survival. The howls grew closer, and Elias' scanner detected multiple life forms approaching rapidly. Protection with conditions is just another form of captivity, he challenged. Perhaps, Tessara admitted, but it is captivity with purpose, with honor, her amber eyes locked with his, and perhaps with time, with something more. The choice before him narrowed to impossibility as the first of Proxima's predators appeared on the horizon, six-limbed and moving with terrifying speed. Decide now, human, Tessara commanded, die free or live claimed. The Valkari warship Indomitable Vow hummed with energy as it sliced through hyperspace. Elias sat in the medical bay, watching with fascination as advanced nanites sealed the wounds on his arm, leaving no trace of injury. Commander Tessara Vector stood nearby, her imposing presence drawing the deference of every crew member who passed. Your vitals are stabilizing, she observed, studying holographic readings that hovered above his bed. Human physiology is remarkably resilient. We've had plenty of practice surviving, Elias replied dryly, though apparently not enough of us made it. Tessara's ruby filament hair rippled with what he was beginning to recognize as interest. The human male population was reduced to less than 8% of pre-war levels. Those who remain are scattered across 16 systems. And how many are claimed by Valkari? He asked, testing the word that still made his stomach clench with unease. 412, she answered without hesitation. You are the 413th under our protection. A chime sounded and Tessara gestured for him to follow. You are recovered enough to meet the others. Ilias followed her through corridors of gleaming metal etched with the same luminescent patterns that adorned Valkari's skin. Crew members, all female, all towering with the same copper-hued skin and predatory grace, watched him with undisguised curiosity. They entered a large chamber where 3 human men sat with various Valkari warriors. The atmosphere was strangely intimate, with the humans engaged in conversation, technical work, or entertainment alongside their protectors. This is Marcus, claimed by Lieutenant Krevna. Tessara indicated an older man with dark skin who nodded cordially. Devon, claimed by warrior scientist Velis, and Jaden, newly claimed by squad leader Paxtel. Jaden, perhaps in his early 20s, gave Ilias a sympathetic smile. First week is the hardest, he said quietly, but it gets better. Better than what? Ilias challenged. Being treated like endangered wildlife. Better than being hunted by the scourge pirates who sell human males to the highest bidder, Marcus interjected. Or being experimented on by the hegemony researchers trying to replicate our genetic diversity. Before Ilias could respond, alarm klaxons blared. Tessara's posture shifted instantly from casual to battle-ready. Scourge vessels detected, announced the ship's AI, attack formation. Stay with the others, Tessara ordered, her tone brooking no argument. Protection chamber is sealed against boarding. The 3 humans moved with practiced ease toward a reinforced section of the room. Jaden motioned for Ilias to follow. You'll want to see this anyway, he said. Helps you understand. The protection chamber featured viewports that allowed them to observe external feeds. Ilias watched in astonishment as Tessara and her warriors engaged 3 pirate vessels. The Valkari moved with lethal precision, their combat style blending advanced technology with terrifying physical prowess. They fight differently when protecting claimed humans, Marcus explained, more ferociously. Indeed, Tessara seemed transformed in battle, her movements calculated yet primal. When pirates breached the outer hull, she engaged them personally, her battle staff crackling with energy as she cut through enemies with ruthless efficiency. The claiming is mutual, Devon said quietly. We provide something they lost centuries ago, emotional connection. They evolved past it for war efficiency but discovered it weakened them in other ways. So we're emotional support animals, Ilias asked bitterly. Jaden shook his head. Partners, once you understand the bond, it's different than it seems now. The battle ended as swiftly as it began. When Tessara returned, her armor was splattered with unknown substances, but her focus immediately sought Ilias. You are unharmed, she stated, relief evident despite her controlled expression. Thanks to you, Ilias acknowledged, seeing her in a new light, fierce, protective, and perhaps more complex than he'd assumed. Always, she replied simply, and the intensity in her amber eyes made something shift in his understanding of what claimed truly meant to a Valkari warrior. The trading outpost on Helios Station hung like a tarnished jewel in orbit around a gas giant. Its curved habitation rings teemed with species from across the galaxy, most eyeing Ilias with unconcealed interest as Tessara escorted him through crowded marketplaces. Stay close, she murmured, her tall form creating a natural barrier between him and the pressing crowds. Your scent identifies you as human male. There are those here who would risk Valkari wrath for such a prize. Ilias had spent 3 weeks aboard the indomitable Vow, gradually adapting to the strange rhythm of life among the Valkari. He'd begun learning their language, fascinated despite himself by their complex culture of honor and protection. You don't need to hover quite so close, he said, though he found himself less irritated by her presence than before. I can handle myself. Tessara's amber eyes flicked toward a group of gray-skinned Xanti traders who were watching them too intently. Perhaps, but I would rather not test that claim. They approached a merchant stall operated by an ancient Valkari whose crest had faded from ruby to pale pink with age. She greeted Tessara with a formal salute, then studied Ilias with knowing eyes. A fine specimen, the elder remarked. Strong-willed, he challenges you. Continuously, Tessara confirmed, with what Ilias shocked himself by recognizing as affection in her tone. While Tessara negotiated for supplies, Ilias observed the various species interacting around them. A group of burly mercenaries at a nearby food stall kept glancing his way, communicating through subtle gestures. Your claimed human seems unappreciative of his fortune, one finally called out to Tessara. Perhaps he would prefer different company. Tessara stiffened, but Ilias placed a hand on her arm, the first time he had initiated contact. Let me, he said quietly. He approached the mercenaries, conscious of Tessara tensing behind him. My protector is formidable, he stated clearly, but her greatest quality is respecting my voice while ensuring my safety. Can you offer better? The mercenary's multiple eyes blinked in confusion at this unexpected response. Tessara stepped forward, her presence radiating controlled threat. He has spoken his choice, honor it. Later, in a private dining alcove overlooking the station's spectacular view of the gas giant, Tessara studied him with new interest. You defended our arrangement. Elias shrugged. I'm starting to understand it better. You told me your history last night, how the Valkari lost their empathetic abilities through genetic warfare centuries ago. The emotional purge, she nodded. It made us perfect warriors but incomplete beings. Human males possess neurological patterns that stimulate our dormant empathic centers. The claiming bond awakens parts of ourselves we thought lost forever. So I'm medication, he asked, but without the bitterness that would have colored the question weeks ago. You are catalyst, she corrected, and more, the bond becomes personal. An alarm suddenly blared through the station. Security announcements warned of a containment breach in the lower levels. Tessara immediately rose, battle-ready. Remain here, she ordered, but Ilias was already standing. I worked salvage on stations like this before the war, he said. I know these systems, let me help. For a moment she seemed torn between protection and respect for his abilities. Finally, she nodded, stay within my sight. Together they navigated the station's emergency, working in surprising harmony as Ilias' technical knowledge complemented Tessara's strength and tactical skills. When they finally contained the biohazard leak that threatened the station, Ilias caught Tessara watching him with an expression he hadn't seen before. Respect mingled with something deeper. Perhaps, she said quietly as they returned to their ship, there is more to claiming than I first explained. Ilias wiped condensation from the viewport of the hydroponic garden aboard the indomitable Val. 2 months had transformed his relationship with Tessara in ways he couldn't have imagined when she first claimed him on Proxima IV. What began as resentment had evolved into a complex bond of mutual respect, and increasingly, something that made his heart race when she entered a room. Your earth plants thrive, Tessara observed, joining him among the rows of vegetables and herbs she had acquired specifically for him. Her copper hand brushed against his as she examined a tomato plant. Like you. I've had a good caretaker, he admitted, no longer flinching from the term that once felt so demeaning. He understood now that to the Valkari, caregiving was as valued as warfare, not a sign of weakness but of profound worth. Tessara's filament hair rippled with pleasure at the compliment. Over the past weeks, she had gradually revealed more of herself, her 3-century lifespan, her family lineage of warriors, and most surprisingly, her poetry. Valkari warriors composed battle poems, and Tessara had begun teaching him their rhythmic, passionate verses. The fleet admiral has requested our presence on Asteria Prime, she said. It is time to formalize our claiming bond. Ilias felt a jolt of both anticipation and unease. What does formalization involve? A ceremony acknowledging our mutual choice, she explained. It would grant you rights among my people, property, status, protection beyond my own lifespan. And my obligations. Her amber eyes held his. Continued presence, commitment to the emotional bond we have begun. Physical intimacy is traditional but not compulsory. The air between them seemed charged with unspoken possibilities. Their physical relationship had thus far been limited to increasingly lingering touches, though Ilias found himself dreaming of more. Before he could respond, the ship docked at a small science outpost for scheduled maintenance. Tessara was required to oversee security protocols, leaving Ilias temporarily alone in the station's common area. Just a human. The whisper came from a shadowed alcove. A woman with the weathered face of a frontier colonist gestured urgently. I'm Myra, Human Reclamation Front, she said when he cautiously approached. We have a stealth shuttle docked on the far side. We can have you in free human territory within 20 hours. The human what? We liberate humans from alien control, she explained hurriedly. Especially males. Our population needs you for genetic diversity, not as pets for the Valkari. Ilias frowned. I'm not a prisoner. Stockholm Syndrome, Myra countered. The Valkari are masters of psychological conditioning. They make you feel valued while using you for their empathic restoration. Her words pierced him with doubt. Was what he felt for Tessara genuine or skillfully cultivated dependency? Think about it, Myra pressed a small communicator into his palm. They claim to protect, but they control every aspect of your life. Real freedom means choice, including the choice to leave. When Tessara returned, she sensed his distraction immediately. Something troubles you. That night, lying in his quarters, Elias turned the communicator over and over in his hand. The claiming ceremony loomed ahead, a commitment that would bind him permanently to Tessara and her world. But as he recalled her fierce protection, her gradual vulnerability, the way she treasured his independence even while ensuring his safety, confusion gave way to clarity. What had begun as capture had evolved into something neither of them had anticipated. The communicator made his decision more meaningful, not because he would use it, but because for the first time since being claimed, he had a true choice. The claiming ceremony chamber on Asteria Prime soared in elegant arches of living metal, with ancient Valkari symbols etched into walls that pulsed with internal light. Elias stood beside Tessara before the Council of Protectors, 7 elder Valkari whose ruby crests had faded to various shades of pink and white with age. Commander Tessara Vector, intoned the Chief Protector, you present this human male for formal claiming bond. This is not undertaken lightly. Once sealed, the bond is recognized as sacred throughout Valkari space. Tessara stood resplendent in ceremonial armor that accentuated both her warrior strength and feminine form. I present Elias Vega of Earth, claimed by right of rescue, valued by choice of heart. And does the human accept this claiming? The elder asked, her ancient eyes studying Elias with unnerving intensity. Speak freely without influence. The communicator from Myra weighed heavily in Elias' pocket, a reminder that he had options, that what came next was truly his choice. The past 3 months had transformed him from captive to companion, and something more profound had grown between them, something neither human nor Valkari tradition had quite prepared them for. I accept the claiming, Elias stated firmly, but with conditions of my own. A murmur rippled through the assembled Valkari. Conditions from a claimed human were unprecedented. The protection of the Valkari has preserved human males, he continued, but true preservation of humanity requires more than genetic safekeeping. It requires partnership. Tessara's amber eyes widened slightly, but she remained silent, allowing him this moment of assertion. I claim Tessara Vector as she has claimed me, Elias announced. Equal protection, equal devotion. The Chief Protector leaned forward. You presume much human are traditions. Can evolve, Tessara interrupted, moving to stand shoulder to shoulder with Elias. As we have, what began as protection has become more. The claiming bond works both ways. I feel what he feels. His courage becomes mine. His compassion awakens what was dormant. She took his hand, her copper fingers intertwining with his. The old way preserves but does not strengthen. True claiming, equal claiming offers both. The council chambers erupted in debate, but Elias had eyes only for Tessara. I should have consulted you before challenging their traditions, he whispered. You claimed your freedom by choosing to stay, she replied, her voice rippling with emotion that once would have been impossible for her species. How could I honor that choice without honoring your voice? Their unprecedented claiming ceremony created ripples throughout Valkari space. 3 days later, as they prepared to return to the indomitable vow, an emergency transmission altered everything. Human colony under attack, reported the frantic message. Scourge pirates raiding for males, defenses failing. The coordinates matched the human reclamation front's secret base, Myra's people now facing extinction. We must respond, Elias said immediately. They're my people. As you are mine, Tessara nodded, we protect together. The battle that followed tested their new bond as equal partners. Tessara's tactical brilliance combined with Elias' knowledge of human defense systems as they led the rescue mission. When a pirate commander targeted Elias directly, it was Tessara who shielded him. And when she was wounded, it was Elias who carried her to safety before returning to lead the Valkari warriors in the final push. In the aftermath, as human survivors looked on in wonderment at the human male who commanded Valkari respect, Myra approached them. I offered you escape, she said to Elias. You found something better. Not escape, Elias corrected, supporting the healing Tessara. Evolution. The galaxy changed us all. Survival means changing with it. Tessara's filament hair rippled with agreement. The claiming bond was meant to preserve what was precious. We simply recognized that freedom and devotion are equally worthy of protection. As they returned to their ship, Elias and Tessara stood together on the observation deck, watching the stars. What had begun as captivity had transformed into something neither species had quite imagined, a bond forged in protection but tempered by choice, proving that even in a shattered galaxy, something new and stronger could emerge from the ruins.